Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Hey, we're live.
Yeah, we're live. Hi, Amy. How are you? Good afternoon from Hong Kong.
Hey, Angel. Hi, everyone. Okay, we might kick off with some introductions. Angel, would you like to kick off?
Sure, no problem. Hi, my name is Angel, and I'm from Hong Kong. I've actually been in the executive search business for over 20 years, out of which 15 years is actually I kind of like started from the bottom and just kind of, advanced myself.
Mm,
So, pretty much all my life has been working in a corporate environment. And for the last
mm,
5 years, I've been running my own executive search as well as a career coaching business. And we're here to talk about this topic and pass the ball back to Amy. Why don't you go introduce yourself, and
mm.
also we can you can talk a little bit about the topic today.
Sure, thanks, Angel. So, hi everyone, my name is Amy, and I am a certified career and life coach. I'm based here in Sydney, Australia. So, if anyone's tuning in from Sydney, big welcome. For me, my background has also been predominantly in corporate, a little bit of overlap with Angel actually. I was in a marketing profession, so marketing career for the last 8 to 9 years. And then I actually made a pivot. I made a career change into coaching. So at the moment, I actually play two roles. I'm the founder of my own business where I help people with career coaching and figuring out what do I do to advance my career and to find something that's really meaningful to me. But in the daytime, I also work as an agile coach. And an agile coach, I don't know if many of you are familiar with the term. I'll get into some more details as we go through today's session. But I work at a bank, a big bank here in Australia called Westpac, as an agile coach. So effectively helping teams work better together. So today we are here with you guys to deep dive into the topic navigating career change during a pandemic age. Now, a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into the session. So first of all, we are kicking off for a 1 hour session. So we're looking to finish up at around 6:30 Sydney time and 4:30 Hong Kong time. Now, we'll be going through 4 topics today. And after every topic, I'll be pausing and opening up for your questions. So we really want this to be as interactive as possible. And Angel's going to be keeping an eye out on that chat. So anytime throughout this conversation, if you've got a question or some feedback, pop it in there and we'll make sure to get back to you. So the 4 topics we're covering off today. Number 1, career agility and planning. Number 2, it's developing new skill sets, or how can you actually keep ahead of this curve and stay competitive in today's market? Number 3 is probably my favorite topic, a mindset. And number 4, working and employment trends.
Yeah, and don't worry. I know we're going maybe a little bit fast, but with the 4 topics that Amy's just mentioned, I have already copy and paste into the chat box, so you guys can actually go through
Mm.
as we go through each of these topics. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type in, at the end of each subsession, and we'll try to answer as many of them as possible. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so with that, I think we're going to kick off with a question. So, Angel, what's the question?
Okay, right. So I guess we've been stuck at home, work from home, for the last, I can't remember, like a year, 2 years.
Forever.
Right, like, like forever.
It
Like
feels like
it's
forever.
yeah, like time flies when you're kind of like not out, and sometimes I wake up and I feel like, I don't know, it's like, is that weekend or is that like Monday? And I just kind of feel like, yeah, it's really interesting, this pandemic. So, basically, our question is, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much of your life has been affected during the pandemic? Now, 1 or 0, well, one, I put 1 to 0, 1 being the minimal, and then 10 being the maximum. So if you guys can just uh, look at the question box and look at our chat box and look at our questions. And if you have an answer, feel free to type in, a number. Just kind of take a moment to think about. Wow,
Yeah, let us
it's
know. We're really curious to see how is it impacting you guys.
yeah.
So while you're doing that, we'll check in a couple of minutes. But while you're doing that, I think we can kick off on our first topic, which is career agility and planning.
Mm. Yeah, I think from my point of view, because I've worked in corporate world
Mm,
pretty much like for almost 2 decades, so um, with this pandemic, I think on a corporate setting or in a corporate world, a lot of the incidents I've seen would be definitely a lot of corporate restructurings, definitely redundancies, change of reporting line, change of your job scope. I've got a lot of candidates
mm,
coming to me. It's like, well, actually, my job has to be eliminated, or I used to have a team of five,
mm,
have now, but because we're downsizing now, I'm down to probably two-person reporting into me, and I just kind of feel like I have so many on my plate, and it's just kind of like all of these things stuck together, and it really takes a toll on a lot of people, mentality and also the stress level, and especially for the fact that working from home, and if you have a regional role, and even if you want to talk to your
mm,
counterparts, that definitely, I think, on a mentality level, and also from
mm,
just kind of like a stability level in a corporate world,
mm.
that's definitely have a huge impact on everybody, including all the
It's
candidates.
so isolating, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think especially for all of that to happen and for you to not have the support network that you usually would in the office. Because I remember a few years back, I've been through quite a few restructures, and just the support you get from being able to ask your colleagues, hanging out in the office, seeing them in the kitchen, pulling someone aside for a chat and saying, this has happened to me right now. I don't know how to deal with it. Now people are actually dealing with the situations by themselves at home, and not everyone has a support network anymore. So, Angel, like in your experience, what's the best piece of advice or support that you can give someone immediately when they've found out that their role's been impacted?
Yeah, I think first of all, talk to your managers and talk to your HR.
Mm,
I'm sure they would have an explanation with regards to why it's happening and what is happening and how it's happening. But
mm,
secondly, I would actually seek out to my own community. For example,
mm,
a lot of the recruitment professions, not just myself, has been affected. I've actually reached out to my own recruitment professional community so that we can just kind of bounce back each other, but sometimes it's a little bit like it's not about coming up with a solution because it's going to be here to stay for a while. But I
yeah.
do feel like that you speaking out and you seek communications to your community, be it friends, be it families, be it professionals, and we just kind of, make each other feel a little bit better and come up with, a slightly how we act to these situations. I think that definitely helps from my point. And
Yeah.
you, Amy?
Advice I heard was, and I know it's hard at the time, but the advice that I took that really helped me was, remember that it is not personal. They have reduced a role. They are not reducing you as a person. And I think that's the really difficult distinction, because a lot of the time, when you hear that your role is going away, is being made redundant or being reduced or impacted, it's very natural for you to take that on board and think, well, what have I done wrong? And people start with that doubt. But in actual fact, and I'm sure over the past year, year and a half with COVID-19, it's a commercial decision. Your company has had to, unfortunately, look at the commercials and lean out the people, the processes, the tools, the systems. And I think the really important thing that we need our people to remember is it's not personal. It's not anything that you have done wrong. You are, you're performing. You could be a very high performer, but it's in fact a decision that they've made about that particular position, not you as a person. So I just wanted to put that out there because I remember, myself going through it, and you get upset, you get attached and emotional and upset. It's hard to remember that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think it's everybody needs some time. I think you're right, and I agree with you. It just takes some time to sink in and
Yeah,
not react immediately. And after that, analyzing, what could be, what could you do going forward. It's definitely,
yeah,
don't take it on a personal basis. A lot of time it's just the circumstances that has changed, with regards to what's
mm,
happening to you. So I definitely agree with you. And you're
yeah.
an agile expert, so
Yeah, so
I
maybe
think
I'll
that
take
you,
it from an agility perspective.
yeah,
It's been very common over here in our larger companies for restructure to happen on a large scale. So we're talking tens of thousands of people, and what they're looking at doing is making the systems more lean and more agile. And I know a lot of people have some doubts about, well, what does agile mean? For some people, they think, oh, does agile mean I rock up to work and then I don't get my own desk anymore. I have a locker, I have the hot desk, I have to carry my shoes around. Some people, that's their definition of agile. And while that's a part of it, it's actually more about the agility, the mindset behind it, which is, for example, in a traditional hiring situation, we would hire one person for their knowledge in a particular area. So we call them an I-shaped worker. Okay, so I'm just going to use my pen. Okay, I-shaped worker because they have a deep skill set in one particular thing. But now what companies are asking for are T-shaped workers. So and why they say T-shaped is because not only are you really good at this one thing, they want you to expand your skill set so that you learn about something else here. You are open to learning other skill sets. And the reason why that makes you valuable as an employee is because you are then able to help out and share the load. So imagine, Angel and I are in a team. I know nothing about recruitment. And for example, Angel really has too much on her plate. And she goes, I need someone to help me with this part of recruitment. Who can help me? Now, if I was an I-shaped worker and I said, oh no, I only know about coaching, I can't touch recruitment, that doesn't help Angel, right? That doesn't help the team. And so this is what we're talking about when we say agility. It's your ability to adapt yourself, to broaden that mindset and to say, well, you know what? Even though I don't know anything about recruitment, I'll give it a go. I'll try. And that helps me on a personal development level because I'll be learning more skill sets. And should I leave that role, go somewhere else, I'll be taking those skills with me. So that's a bit of a trend that we've seen, companies asking their employees to be T-shaped workers, to have a more open mindset, and also restructuring their people and their systems into more lean structures.
yeah. I think the terms in our corporate world is called um, broaden your skill sets at a
Mm.
horizontal level. So,
Our
for
horizontal
example,
level. Uh-huh.
if you're an HR specialist, you would have a different sub function under the umbrella. You can have
Mm.
talent. Management acquisitions, and then the other sub function is compensation and benefits. The third function could be organizational development, and then the seven sub functions could be training and development. So I think it can we can slow slightly and gently move forward to the second topic. It's
Yeah.
basically in this
Right.
pandemic age, how are we going to develop new skill sets and also and knowledge and staying really relevant or competitive in the market because
Mm.
obviously employers are looking into more sort of like a cost effective way to get things done, some even looking at cost cutting in all sorts of resources. So from a personal perspective, maybe you share first. How will you go about developing a new set of skills, and um, how would you
Yeah.
plan that, and what kind of skill sets or knowledge that one should
Mm.
decide, or how should decide to be acquired or attained?
Very good question. Okay, before I dive into it, I'm just going to quickly see if there's any questions. Um, so, guys, any questions about that first topic, career agility and planning?
Yeah.
Wait.
Anything. It's a really kind of very open discussions, obviously.
Yes. Or
Um,
if, something is happening personally to you, feel
hmm,
free to put it out there because this is a safe space. So, we're here to help. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Have a think. We'll come back to the questions.
And we'll
Okay.
keep
So,
talking, and if you can think
yeah.
about anything, just type. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you?
Yeah. So, a personal perspective, I mentioned earlier that I wasn't always in coaching. I was actually in marketing before. And when I thought about learning something new, such as coaching, I think you definitely go through a big learning curve, right? You start off and you don't know what you don't know. And by that, I mean you don't know what's involved with the coaching skill set, how hard is it? What does it involve? What do I even need to do? And as you find out more, you then move into another level, learning stage, where you know what you don't know, which means, okay, I know that coaching, I need to learn about facilitation, I need to learn about learning communication and body language. And you start to know, oh my God, this is what coaching is all about. And I don't know any of that. And as you
Mm,
progress through those learning stages, you then become more and more familiar. So you may start picking up, you know what, coaching is this huge, huge thing. And I'm going to focus on this one particular skill set right now. And I'll learn about that and I'll practice that and I'll hone my skills in that. And I'll get really good at this one part of coaching. And once I've got that under my belt, then I'll try something else. And I think it's really important that as you're learning, just with anything, whether it's learning a sport, something physical, or learning something mentally, it's all about practice. And
yeah.
don't be afraid to start as a beginner because everyone starts at a beginner. You might look at Angel and think, wow, she's got 15 years in executive search experience.
I'm old.
I'll Oh no, but and you
No,
think,
but
wow,
that's
I'll
okay.
never
Yeah.
be at that
Yeah,
expert level.
definitely. You start to compare.
Angel
Oh my
starts
God.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is quite funny. I actually have a post-it just to remind myself. If you can read my terrible handwriting, it says it says growth
Growth
takes
takes
time.
time.
Yeah,
I
and it
feel
doesn't
like,
happen overnight. And I
yeah,
am exactly where I need to be. And I
yeah.
actually keep this on under my computer to remind
Yeah.
myself. Yeah,
And you
you
know
got
what?
to start
Actually,
from
I'm
somewhere.
I'm the same thing as well. um, I feel like well, because I've started to work with a lot of Gen Z with my
Yes.
job. I think we talk a little bit about that, and they're so technical savvy. They know things like I'm still using. Don't laugh, okay? Everybody who's looking, don't. I still use a mouse, and I'm really bad with
I
like, oh my god. Okay, thank you.
I'm
Thank you
an
for
old
giving me
school.
company. And like I'm very old school when it comes to that. I just kind of feel like it's like I kind of like never really get around to like using the laptop, that kind of touchpad. And when I
Mm.
see all this youngster hanging out a coffee shop, and I bring my this, and then they just like kind of looking, acting very suave and casually, have a sip of coffee, and they're just like touching the notepad. Just really interesting to see.
So
So, but
right.
then, but then again, what I did was like, wow, I think this is definitely a new skill set that I need to pick up in terms
Hmm.
of being technology savvy. So luckily, there's a lot of online courses, where you learn, how to do like um, Instagram, and also editing videos. So I started taking online courses to upgrade myself, and that's just basically what we're developing on point two. It's any new skill sets to stay relevant because, for example, even I as a manager working at corporates, and imagine if I am managing people that are in their 20s who is very,
Mm,
very technical savvy, and they would send me, hey, boss, like you don't really need to check our outlook, or the candidates don't really need to, um, you know, um, wait for us to call and set up interview time. You can use Calendly. I was like, what's that? So Calendly, it's basically they can look at our own
fancy.
calendar. Yeah.
Yes.
And when I'm working on a project with my colleagues, and we have like assigned different tasks, and we use
Right.
Trello, and that's what I was being introduced to my 20s
I
brain.
love
Now,
Trello. Yes, Trello is
yeah,
a
and I
great
love
tool.
that, right? And you would know what everybody would know, like the pages, what everybody's pages is on, and if there's any problems or any questions and a timeline, so that as a project management team, despite the fact that we can't see each
Yes.
other every day, when we once we open up Cello, or once we want to kind of like talk to them, we'll look at the calendar.
Mm.
So these are some of the things from my perspective that I've learned. So
That is so awesome. Oh my God, I'm really ready to move into the next topic now, which is
yeah. Oh,
mindset,
wait,
because
Cassie, hello. Thank you so much for that motivational quote. Amy, she said, Cassie Chan. Hi, Cassie.
yes, I popped it in there. Thanks, Cassie.
Thank you.
Um, okay, so if there's no questions at the moment, I might dive straight into that third topic, which I think, Angel, you just demonstrated so well that you, as a manager, you have growth mindset. And when we talk about growth mindset, what it really means is someone who is open to learning. And so the opposite of growth mindset is fixed mindset. And maybe I'll give you some examples because you might have heard fixed and growth mindset before, and you might know, oh yes, of course I need to be growth mindset, but what does it actually mean? So let me give you some examples. Fixed mindset, usually, let's say something bad happens to me, and I blame everyone else but me. They you didn't teach me, Angel, you didn't show me how to use this webinar program, that's why I don't know how to use it. Or
Imposter syndrome.
yeah,
The
or you're like,
imposter
I
syndrome.
wasn't born to use technology. That's why I don't know how to use it. So you sort of blame everyone else but yourself. It's very easy to come up with excuses. And people who have a fixed mindset believe that you are born with a certain number of skills, and that's it. If I wasn't born with it, I'll never have it. And the problem is, if that's how you think, is, well, you know what? You're not going to get any better at anything because you're staying stagnant. Growth mindset, and they've done a lot of studies on this. It's super interesting. When someone is thinking in a growth mindset way, they're challenging themselves to stretch. And there was a study done, and they actually looked at children's development, and they looked at the brain, and they looked at a heat map. And when someone is thinking and challenging themselves, within the brain, you can see it lighting up. There was a lot of activity in the middle. It was all red. There was a lot going on. But in the fixed mindset, it was empty. Like there was nothing going on in that brain. There was no activity. And so, something that is really important, I think, to all of us is that growth mindset. And it doesn't mean that you'll always be growth mindset. Of course, there'll be moments where you just think, this is too hard. I don't care. It's too hard. I need a break. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But just recognize when you are being like that, just recognize, you know what? I'm not being growth mindset right now. Maybe I need a break. But if I want to learn, I need to adopt a open to learning type of mindset.
Yeah, because absolutely, I agree with it 100%. Because changes itself, it's everything change every day,
The
something
time,
different
isn't
is
it?
gonna, yeah, it's concurrent,
Yes.
right? It's recurrent thing. And I think having understanding change, it's definitely going to be a part of our life. That's actually relate to and align to having a growth mindset, kind of mentality. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't really mean that, like, I have to just go and learn, all these 10 things together. But,
Mm,
once at a time, you reckon if pick up one to two things that are really relevant to
mm,
what your current situations, be it at work, be it on a personal level. Definitely,
mm,
having that kind of change slash
mm.
growth mindset is really important. And
Do
also, I
you-
think it keeps one motivated as well. You
Yes.
would fall through a new um, uh, skill sets. You will get to meet
Mm.
new people. You will start to have a different banter, and it just makes your life so much more fulfilling. So I would, yeah, like out of the four topics, like I can just talk and talk and
About
talk about
mindset.
the
Me
mindset
too.
non-stop.
Let
And
me
I'm
share with you guys
yeah.
a really easy practical tip that you can use. So it's the word yet. Y-E-T. Okay, so the word yet, the power of the word yet. All you need to do is if there's something that you don't know about, you say, I don't know how to do that yet. And suddenly you've reframed that. It's not, I don't know how to do that. It's, I don't know how to do that yet, meaning I will. At some stage, I will get there. And it's something that they use with children in some schools. And they say, you know what, you don't know how to tie your shoelaces yet. So it's something you guys can try, whether you're using it in everyday communication with your friends and your family and your team, or even when you're saying it to yourself. There are always moments when you're talking to yourself and you're thinking, why don't I know how to do this yet? So give that a go.
Yeah. Oh, one thing, on a sort of like jokingly basis, right? We talk about a little bit of our own upbringings, and we'll talk about, our grandparents or great grandparents
Mm,
would always love to share the past stories, right? And I would be like, oh, this is like probably 100 times that I've listened
yes.
to
How
this
many times have I heard this?
and I always remember at that time when I was still a young kid, I was like, you know what? When I grow old, when I do grow older, I'll never become the kind of person that my grandparents or just talking about the history. It's like, what about now? What about the future? So I guess just be a little bit cautious, or if you start talking about something that your friends or the audience are kind of like not paying attention, and because you're talking about the past, then please have this a little bit more kind of like pay attention to this. And once you have that awareness that, hey, oh my god, I'm start to talking about my past
You
is no
sound like my
longer.
parents.
Yeah, exactly. Sound like my great grandparents. And oh, in my old company, we used to do this and that. Oh, my old job, I used to do this and that. And once you listen to yourself, and that's a time that, hey, stop that. Look at the present, because present is a gift, and the future is so much more potential and possibility. So just that's the growth mindset for me myself. It's
Shifting
just like
to
a
forward looking.
self-aware. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure
It's
that
like
happens all the time, like every conversation I have with my dad. When I was
exactly.
your age. Yes. But I think the other part to that is and you mentioned this earlier too, when you were talking about how your team members, the ones who are younger than you, the Gen Z millennials who are showing you, hey, we can actually use Calendly, to make appointments. It's
Mm,
actually being open to your way may not be the only way. And I
yes.
think when you have ego, that often gets in the way of us learning, because you think, oh, I figured this out myself. And I'm sure that's what our parents are saying as well. I worked so hard to figure out this method, and now I'm telling you all about it. Why don't you just take my hard work and believe
Mm,
and trust me? And I think it's really important for us to say, well, okay, you know what? My way is not the only way. Even if I don't agree, I should give these people a try. I should listen to their ideas and give it a try, because it's not going to hurt me, right? To be
yeah.
open to seeing what's out there. And then you can make your own decision after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important part is just keep an open mind. of all the things and all the informations and all the ideas, intelligence that's being brought into you, and you kind of like pick and choose, like, hey, you know what? This sounds like a good idea. Let me try it. And the next thing you know, that the new method is better than your old method. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Let's all be humble because we are here to learn, and just because you have succeed. Because of your own method, but yeah, the
Mm.
ego is definitely to some cases, I think, with our culture, at
Mm.
times it could be a big barrier. But from my experience,
That's right.
it's always great to keep an open mind. Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know what
Um,
you guys are thinking. You guys are listening. We guys are talking, but yeah,
yes. Are
shy
you guys
or
still there? Let us know. Please let us know. Is
we're
this of
coming up.
interest? Is there if there's a particular topic that's on your mind, just
Mm.
put it out there. Or if there's a particular situation that you're in, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Yes.
what actually just did at the beginning of our webinar, I did put down both of our LinkedIn as well as email to connect us because this is not going to be the first and the last webinar that Amy and I are going to be collaborating. We're going to be dealing and talking about different types of topics, be it career,
Mm.
be it growth mindset, or be it Gen Z, anything that is related towards one's professional journey. So feel free to do that, to connect and follow us, to stay attuned on what's happening going forward. And I
Cool.
understand that this is probably the first time people get to know us, and they might be
Mm.
just wanted to listen, which is fine. We can keep sharing topics and sharing our own
Yes.
experience.
Cool.
So this is
Cool.
the
So,
mindset. We can actually get like have another topic to talk about that mindset, dealing with okay, well, how are you
yeah,
gonna deal with like the
it's such
younger
a big topic.
generations? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I wanted to share a technique that I go through with all coaching clients, and that's active listening. And listening is a really interesting thing. There's actually a pyramid of the different types of listening. And the first type of listening, right down the bottom, is actually ignoring. So isn't that funny? So it means someone is saying something to you and you just ignore them and say, I don't care, I don't want to know. Like when if your mum is saying to you, put on more clothes, eat more, you're too skinny, and you say, I don't care, ignoring. So that's the first level of listening. And then the second level of listening is pretending to listen. And I'm sure we've all done that. And someone's talking about something and you're not that interested, but you don't want to be rude. And you're like, okay, okay, okay. And you're not actually, taking it in. And so pretending to listen is a second level. And then the third and fourth levels, it's around really starting to respond. So you're listening and you're actually responding to what that person is saying. And active listening comes right up the top of that triangle, right up the top. And active listening is when you're listening and responding to what that person is saying and also what they are not saying. Because talking is only one format of communication, but you can also pick up, when I'm looking at Angel, I can see her body language, I can see how engaged she is when she's leaning in, when she's smiling. And when someone is really actively listening to you, because you can feel it, you can feel that connection. And
Yeah.
so it's something that we do with whether it's clients at a career coaching level, a life coaching level, and also at with teams. Because if you want to create really strong relationships, you need to try your best to actively listen. And it takes up a lot of brain energy to do it because if you're actively listening to someone, you're all switched on. You're not, distracted by your phone. You're not listening to what's going on the TV outside. You're very present and you're all there. So if, the next time that your partner or, your parents want to have a conversation with you, try and really be present and switch on and just forget about everything else and just try and focus on what are they saying to me and how can I respond and let them know that I am listening.
Yeah, so true, so true. Like personally, I have a very short attention span, and we
Mm.
talk about pretending to listen. That's what I did very, very best when I was a squaw. Um,
Mm.
because like it really depends on like the teachers or the professors,
Mm.
or if they're like kind of a bit like monotone, or they're talking about some
That's
subjects that are
boring. Yeah.
boring. But you can just tell that I wasn't listening. So I think if there's anybody or our audience out there who has a little bit of like my type of problems, start it with a time frame. Like for me, it's like I understand
Mm.
that my attention spans could be usually it's 1 minute, but when I first started out like in the recruitment business, like you know what, start by listening to pick up the keywords, start by 5 minutes, and then extend to 10 minutes, and then extend to hey, how about I stop that person and then ask them questions or give them
Yes.
my my feedback, and we start to communicate and interact. And by that time I kind of feel like well, not only listening, but at the same time I'm participating, that person is listening to me too. So I think that kind of general kind of like progress, or that little trick that I just kind of try on myself, did work. That just comes
Yes.
from a personal
I have a funny
experience.
story. My husband and I went through a couples counseling course because before we got married,
Mm,
we got married at a church, at a Catholic church, and as part of the preparation, you need to go to this couples counseling thing.
yeah.
And obviously, like he wasn't really into it. And the lady got us to practice actively listening. So we had to sit, just like you and I, Angel, stare at each other, and then he would say something, and then I would repeat back to him what I heard. And if I didn't get it right, then he needed to tell me. And so and it's really, really much harder than you think. When someone tells you something, you interpret it, you add things in there or you take out things. So it's really
Yes.
important that you actually say it out loud. Hey, I heard that you said you didn't like it when I turn on the dishwasher and it's not full yet. Is that right? And they will tell you, yes, it was sort of right, but you missed this part. And it's through that feedback loop. That's how you improve that communication. So remember that active listening is not just listening, it's also that response.
Absolutely. Um, I think me and you have done a lot of like public presentations, or even
Mm,
just talking to team members or talking to my team members, and how you say it and how it's being perceived. It's
yes.
just it could be go whoa,
Yes.
and you can tell by the course of actions after
Mm,
your communications to them. So yeah, definitely another topic that we can talk about.
yes.
But I'm
Okay,
very
you're right.
here.
Let's get back
We
on
are
track.
at time. Let's stay on track. We're gonna talk a
Okay.
little bit about the current working and employment trends.
Yes.
It's interesting. Let me start first. In the Asian market, I would speak for Hong Kong, China, and Southeast Asia regions. I think it still remains very, very kind of on a graduate basis. But having said that, the reasons why Amy and I talk about you need to have a growth mindset, you need to just develop more skill sets to stay competitive and relevant in the market, is because the majority of my clients, they are the hiring managers, which is like the CEO and C level. They do look for candidates with a broaden a wider set of skills, instead of like, oh, you're only good with like this specific. Because like you
Mm,
said, Amy, because in organization during this time, a lot of things can happen, and they just want to make sure that they have a leader who is very agile, um, and also adaptive to change, and also have, if they really
mm,
have like one two staff that all of a sudden they have immigrate to another country, they would need to just kind of fill in their shoes and just pick things up as soon as
mm,
possible. So having that kind of, not saying that you have to be expertise or specialist in each of these finance, HR,
mm,
ITSS, or whatever, but you need to know at a certain depth a level of all this function
Mm,
that you'll be managing. So that goes down to obviously, as a sales and marketing professional like myself, it can be break down into online, offline, e-commerce, PR, branding, marcom,
mm,
and all this kind of stuff. And in a perfect world, back in the days where there's like a really, um, you know, um, larger organization, it's being divided into subsections. But nowadays, it's I think a lot of the employers are expecting that when you're a marketing person, they immediately expect that you would have a certain depth of knowledge on all across under
mm,
umbrella. So this is a trend that I see. So as kind of like executive search and recruiter, such career coach point of view, says I do urge you, if you're planning your career, whether in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or
mm,
whatever, don't ever stop learning. And especially if those skill sets are related to what you're currently doing, to your current
mm,
profession, um, please keep an eye out on what are the skill sets that are in high demand in this ever-changing market landscape. So that's actually coming from me, from sort of like a search
mm.
hunter point of
It's
view.
such a great, like, you're a gem of knowledge because how often is it that you have someone like Angel who has the inside knowledge of recruitment and what hiring managers are looking for? So, yes, thank you for sharing that. I find this so interesting, because I've obviously never been on your end before.
Yeah.
The point I was going to raise was from a different angle, and that's about culture fits. And I mean, I'll speak for the Australian market, but I think this is probably going to resonate with whatever market you're in. But companies and hiring managers, when they interview you, and the reason why they're interviewing you partly is to see what are you like as a person, and are you going to be a good fit for this team? Do I want to work with you? And if I dumb it down, people want to work with people who are easy to work with. They don't want to work with people who are difficult, right, and hard to work with. And that's really important for you to remember because you could be 100% on paper, but if you show up and they feel that you're not a good fit for their company and their culture, it's going to be a tough decision for them. And I've seen this quite a few times where someone is they've got two candidates and they've come along and we've looked at them and said, well, this person is technically better, but I prefer the other one. And it's
Mm,
not because that person is technically stronger, but it's their soft skills. It's because I think that I can work well with them, and the things that they are lacking technically, I believe that person has the motivation and the drive to learn it, and I'm willing to take a risk on that person. So don't underestimate how important it is that culture fit is for you and for your hiring manager, because you want to enter into a workplace environment where you feel that you click, you're supported with your teammates, and you're having a good time at work. So
yeah.
that's the first one. Yeah, culture. And then, oh, what was the second one? Oh, I've lost it now.
It's okay.
Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah, I'll let you come back. But I was just gonna echo you. Yeah. I I believe technical skill sets can be learned and trained, but it
Mm,
was the personality and the chemistry. You just can't forge it. You can't learn and train.
mm,
And also in, let's say, like a team setting, if I were the employee and I actually like my team and I like my boss, I actually feel happy and motivated to come to work every day. And that would
mm,
actually increase my productivity and also job satisfaction. Now, versus if, yeah, like you said, that, if the employer picked the 100% competent candidate, but who doesn't just fit in with the team or have, not that much of a chemistry with,
mm,
the reporting, direct reports, then I think it's a two-way situations where the hiring manager and also the 100% competent person might not feel motivated, So yeah,
mm.
I have to totally agree with you. Like the chemistry, the culture fit,
Mm.
definitely really important. And it's
The
very,
song
and
bit,
also like, yeah, it's very
it,
hard to
it,
explain
it
to
came back.
candidate as well. It's like, what do you mean by chemistry?
Yeah, what
Because
am I missing?
Yeah, and it's just it's so intangible that, but
Mm,
it's kind of like, I don't mean to sound like, like this witch or whatever, but it's like it's very intuitive. Like you kind of do have a sense whether or not you guys would kind of hit it off, so to speak.
mm.
And
Do you think?
yeah, so like I think a lot of employers, they tend to look beyond just like the CV and technicals of
Mm,
experience, especially if you're an experienced professional. I think it's definitely when it comes down to the final hire and the final offer, it's all about
mm.
chemistry. Like I feel like I can work and interact and learn from each other, learn from this
Yeah.
person. And
It's a two-way street, isn't it? I thought of that thing I wanted to say. Um, diversity, diversity and inclusion.
right.
This, I think, this theme has become stronger and stronger and stronger over the
Mm,
last decade, and I think why it's so powerful is not only is it about being inclusive of people, whether gender, race, religion, skin color, whatever it is, but also because teams that have diversity of thought perform better. And I see that as an agile coach, when we stand up agile teams, we have a particular formula. Okay. So, firstly, there's number of people, and the ideal number of people is 5 to 9. And there are calculations about this. Obviously, not every single team is between 5 to 9, but it's about keeping it big enough that you have people of cross-functional skill sets, but not so big that it's becomes an overhead to maintain those connections. So that's size is part of it. Now, the other part, coming back to diversity, if you have 9 of the same type of people with the same type of skill set, that's not going to benefit you because everyone operates in a similar fashion. You are not going to challenge each other when something could be better. You're not going to get that diversity of thought. And
mm,
so I think when great leaders, when they are hiring, they are aware of that. They're aware that they have blind spots. Everyone has blind spots. But if you can bring in people from different backgrounds and experiences, you will strengthen that team and help them become a high performing team. So keep that in mind as you are looking for roles. If that's the position that you're in, think about what you can bring, and being different can be a great thing. Don't try and hide that. Your difference is what makes you strong.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, diversity, it can mean from an organization and
Mm,
also team basis. But diversity also means from a personal basis. Like,
mm,
I need to be a diversified person in terms of my mindsets, that I am able to
mm,
communicate with the Gen Z. I am able to communicate with, across function. For example, like I'm a salesperson, so when I talk, I tend to be very upbeat, and I can be what we call like, well, you have no patience. So when I was speaking with like the finance and IT team, and they start talking about technicality, I started to fall asleep all the time. But but that's not very good, because they're the ones, who help me to fix my emails and really silly IT and also accounting invoices problems. So I think diversity also means your ability to communicate and interact staff in an organizations at
mm,
all levels, um, board level, CEOs, Gen Z, your counterparts in different functions, and even on from a different
mm.
regional perspective. So, yeah, just to add my kind of two cents on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Something that is very popular over here is what we call 360 feedback.
oh
So
yeah, I
Angel,
have that.
is that a thing in Hong Kong and the Asian market?
Well, it's really interesting because I used to work for a US listed company, and
Mm,
we're all about diversity, inclusion, acceptance, and there is no hierarchy. The 360 is just basically people who are working with you, who people who are reporting into you, and all that. And
Everybody, basically.
yeah,
Actually, maybe I'll just quickly explain if you
sure.
guys on the line, if you don't know what 360 feedback is, it's basically seeking feedback from everyone you work with. And usually you do that on a regular basis. So it might be every half a year as part of your performance review. You ask particular people who you work closely with at all levels. So at the same level as above you, but reporting into you, you ask them to provide anonymous feedback. And that feedback comes back to you, and you would go through that and reflect. And you would share that with your leader as well, and that's how your career plan would be shaped, because you're looking at this feedback that's come from the people who work closest with you, and it can be a really challenging thing. So anyway, that's what we're talking about when we're saying 360 feedback.
Yeah, personally, I, I mean, obviously, different types of performance appraisals have the pros and cons, but I think the 360 feedback, if it's being carried out correctly, it definitely makes you reflect on a lot of things that you're not
Mm,
aware. In the professional setting or in the workplace, I didn't know that when I talked to this person, that was being perceived by very needy or aggressive or
mm,
lazy, or I didn't know that. And obviously, it's anonymous, but if at that time, I think when I first looked at it, I said, well, oh, I didn't know that. And obviously, I felt a little bit shocked, but also at the same time, I took
mm,
it very, very personally. But after a week, it's like I started to appreciate it. Well, um, they actually, like would write it down because they actually wanted me to know.
mm.
And had they been very scared or had they not cared, they wouldn't bother to just write all
That's
this
fine. If they didn't care about
comments.
your development,
Yeah,
why waste their time telling you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I start to look at it, at a positive lighting, and it definitely helped me a
Mm.
lot.
I
During
think
my
maybe we need to do a separate session on feedback, giving and
yeah,
receiving feedback, tips, and that
yeah,
type of thing. Because I'm just keeping my eye on the time. It's
okay,
actually 6:25, so we're almost at wrap up.
yeah.
So maybe
So
let's just see, pause. Let's take an opportunity for anyone who's got a question. This is your chance, guys. Anyone who's got a
yeah.
question or some feedback.
Yeah, and if you can't think of it any feedback right now or questions right now, on the event button, actually you've got Amy and I's profile on how to connect with us, and also on the top of the chat page, there's
Mm,
our a little link on our landing page. And if there's any topics that you'd like us to discuss or any feedback about today's a topic, what we talk about, definitely we are very, very, very appreciative of what you guys have to share, in terms of feedback and questions and others, many other things. So
Yeah, let us
so thank
know.
you so much for your
What did you
time.
like? What didn't you like? What do you think could be improved?
Yeah,
Then that's how we can do better. And next time we'll bring forward something. Hopefully that will be exactly what you're after. And very relevant.
yeah. So thank you so much. You guys have been so
Mm,
attentive at staying with us for this, 1.5 hour webinars. Thanks and thanks and thanks. That's
yes.
all I can say. And more and more webinars with me and Amy, collaborations will be coming up in the very, very near future. So do stay tuned. And yeah, I guess bye
Yes. Okay, we'll sign off
bye.
here. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Connect with us on LinkedIn, or shoot us an email. Angel will pop the details in the chat. Cool.
All
Okay, we'll wrap up
right.
here.
Bye bye, guys.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. See you next
Bye.
time.